Hi, I'm Hannah.
Hi, I'm Abby.
And this is Filling Ink,
the Inksel podcast.
We are back for the final episode of season 3.
It's just flying by. But actually, I feel like I start every episode being like, gosh, it's just going so quickly.
Yeah, can you believe we're at this point already? We always do, don't we? But I think it is crazy how quickly this year is going, isn't it?
No, it absolutely is. Like, we were just reflecting on it and like sort of thinking about the next season, which we'll get to. But like, it's gone massively fastly. Massively fastly.
Massively fastly. You should put that in a poem.
Massively. Oh, okay, I'll save it. No one steal it. I'll save that for my obviously golden line.
Yes, yeah. But I think that's where we're at this point. I think we've got. I feel like this podcast so far, it's been like such a journey, hasn't it? I feel like I've learned so much, and I feel very experimental now compared to the way I did to start with. I really enjoyed speaking to Earle last week because, as we'll get to, the creative project that I kind of set, creative task, was trying to adapt your work and see if you can make it into a play, which I've really enjoyed doing. But I think, being experimental with language, just that massively fastly, that seemed quite experimental to me. Maybe that's what we should do like a wacky jargon poem.
Oh, that'd be fun. When we both have time to do a poem. Because when this podcast goes out, the Earle Festival will have happened.
Yeah,
we are currently in the throes of organising that, which I'm sure we'll talk more about towards the end.
Yeah.
But, I mean, to be fair, we don't need to save it because it'll have happened, which is mad, our second festival.
It will have done. Second festival, and also we're excited because at the festival we're going to attempt something that could go terribly wrong. Should we talk about it now?
I feel like you've touched on it. So I've
hinted at it. I've done that.
I'm glad you seem quite excited about it because I feel like we've hit the point of the festival where you're in that mad rush in the last sort of few weeks of just like needing to get it done.
Yeah, it's always at this point as well. Whenever anyone who has organised any kind of event, I'm sure will be able to empathise. It's when it gets to the week before and things just start going a little bit wrong and people start cancelling.
A little bit wonky.
Yeah, and you're just like, oh, great, how are we going to pull this together? But it always does. I think last year was an absolute... it just was a true example of that. I remember the week before we were both just so stressed and rushed off our feet, and then we just had the best day.
Yeah, it was fun. It was so good.
I think it's one of those things that we just need to get to Saturday and just let it happen, because in actual fact the people who come take it their own way, don't they?
Absolutely. And like, people will be there and we'll be there, and we've got lots of really cool stuff planned, including there will be a bonus episode, not this season, but between this season and the next, which will be our festival special, which is really exciting.
So we were kind of discussing how we see it going, and
should we make like predictions?
Wrong. We see it going wrong.
Oh god. Yeah, no, we do.
No, we've got a really good support system. So we've got Alex, who is our lovely editor, and Abby's lovely partner, who I'm pretty sure is just gonna hopefully make it work for us, because we're just gonna both stand there like, what do we do? So hopefully, Alex will pull out some kind of magic trick for us.
Well, just before recording, Hannah was like, well, we have this thing and this thing, we can make this work, and Alex was like, no, like, not in a mean way, but I've got things sorted. Like, we're good. And you were like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to act like I know what I'm talking about when it comes to this stuff, but I definitely do not.
I don't even pretend at this point. I'm just like, sure, make it work for me, please.
Yeah, please. I think it's going to be really good though. We're going to try get some audience participation. So we're going to hopefully hear from some ink spillers. So if you do listen to this podcast and you're not from up north, it might be quite nice for you to kind of get a little bit of a taste of who comes to Inkspill, what an Inkspill event is like. So I'm really excited for this little segment. I'm intrigued to see how it goes anyway.
Yeah, I think it'll go better than we expect. I think we are quite
resilient.
I was gonna say we're quite sometimes a bit negative, because we sort of prepare for the worst and hope for the best, and that is often what we've experienced.
Yes.
But we were both sat here like, well, we'll just see how it goes.
I definitely think that as I've got older, that is how I've become. I'm far more pessimistic than I am optimistic, and I feel like I went through a phase in my early 20s where I was quite like, life is good, everything's positive, everything's very optimistic and things. But I don't know what happens. You reach a point, don't you, where you just assume the worst and then are shocked when it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
and
I think also like
a lot.
We live in unprecedented times repeatedly. Like, it does feel like stuff's hitting the fan all the time.
Yeah,
and we could just use some like precedented times where everything's fine. So so hopefully there will be a bonus episode, and if there's not, it's
because it went wrong. So if you go on Spotify to find this bonus episode, because it didn't happen. Maybe someone forgot to press record or something. I don't know.
But it was good. I'm sure it'll be great at the time.
We've got at this point recording this. We've got all the best intentions. So.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, there'll be a bonus episode. Mm-hmm. We don't know how it's going to go. We don't know what it'll sound like, but we are really looking forward to like actually speaking to our community live in that moment and having that time with them.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
So yeah.
So that's the Inksville Festival. Shall we reflect on the season that has been?
Yes.
On season 3.
Season 3.
Yeah.
It's really funny. I really thought this was the season that I was gonna like be great at. Mm-hmm. Like I'm sure we've spoken about before. I've done a lot of performing around the north. I've done a lot of mics and a few slams, bits and pieces around. And I know I'm not the best again. I've just really struggled with deadlines. So I've not worked on publishing stuff. I really thought this was my season that I was gonna be like find really affirming. And I think it's fair to say, just the way the season's gone for both of us with how life has been, I feel like I don't know if you agree, but I feel like I've not been able to like actually get into this half as much as I really wanted to and hoped for, which really sucks. I'm really disappointed that like we haven't had the time to engage with it. Well,
as fully as we'd have liked. Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. I definitely wanted to spend this time pushing myself into some areas that I've not really tapped into. At the beginning, I made it very clear that I'm not a performance poet and I'd like to go to some open mics. But I haven't been able to either. No. But I think it's good that we've talked to people and we know, and because we've seen firsthand that they can be beneficial, so that when we do eventually get the time to explore those areas, we can listen back ourselves, can't we? And
absolutely, I think the thing is, like we mentioned in the last episode, but I genuinely think I will be listening back to this, and like obviously cringing hearing my voice, because I think you always, the minute you hear your own voice outside your head, you're like, oh, is that what I sound like? But I do think I actually need to listen back to this properly and do it properly, but actually engage with it and have time with it, because I think we've talked a lot about how difficult this year's been, but it has been difficult, so it hasn't been the time to kind of do this in the way we sort of expected or hoped for.
Yeah, I think we rather naively thought that we'd be able to set out on these huge creative projects and it would be fine. But yeah, I mean, we've done some amazing things on the side though. Inksville has grown massively this year as well, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's huge.
So I'm not. I feel as though yes, a lot has happened, but I'm really glad that we've documented the journey with the podcast, and that I can then just be a listener myself and go back and say, hey, what did Rio say? What did Brogan recommend about performing this season? And I definitely think there's been a lot to learn, even if we've not been able to implement it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what would you say, talking to the guests throughout season 3, what would you say has been the highlight, or like your golden nugget?
Should we go guess by guess? Because I feel like they all gave us something different, which I really appreciated.
Yeah, we have had very varied guests this season. It's been really nice, actually.
It's been really nice. And even with Brogan and Rose both being poets, like I feel like they've brought such like a difference of experience and wisdom. Feels nice to say. So obviously, episode 2 was with Brogan Ties at Carlin, which was such a great way to sort of open this season. We both obviously had him at last year's festival, which was fab. I think my thing for him is, and so I really appreciate him, is the demanding people get on board, just like telling you that you have to, like, you just have to get on, because the way he performs is so, I think I described it as noisy. The way he performs is so in your face that actually, like demanding people just engage with it and be okay with it. And
if you could tell that he was ever so slightly holding back or a bit embarrassed, you wouldn't enter into that performance, would you? You'd, because the audience would then feel that too. Whereas he doesn't. He literally just releases, doesn't he?
Yes, 100%.
And it's amazing to witness, because you're just kind of in that wave with him.
I was gonna say, he feels like a tsunami.
Yeah, I love it.
Like it gets very still, and then suddenly it's just like the wave is coming. Yeah, you just have to go with it.
So I know exactly what you mean. Just that kind of piece of advice of, you've got to, if you're going to commit to the performance, just commit to it and just throw yourself into it. I've always struggled to do that.
Yeah, same. I think I'm really comfortable and confident like hosting Inksville, and I don't feel any kind of nerves. And if when we've done other nights, it's been really lovely. The minute I get my own work and I'm just like, I can feel it on me, I'm just like not the best. And I think I really like the way he sort of curates this persona of almost like a shield, which is really helpful.
Yeah. I think what I've always really struggled with in terms of performing is my accent. And I know that sounds bizarre, but I always find that I try to overpronounce the words or over enunciate, and then it ruins the performance. And I don't know why I don't just speak my own accent, but I find my voice, and I found it listening back to this podcast actually, it's just one massive mumble. I don't pronounce any words. So I think that's always held me back with performing, because I don't feel I do the poems justice with how broad I am sometimes.
Oh, I hate that.
Which sounds strange, doesn't it? But it is an anxiety that I do have when it comes to performance.
Oh no, it's
anxiety.
It's valid for you because of the way people treat regional accents.
Yeah.
In this country, let's be honest. And it's probably why, like, I know when I'm talking that I am overpronouncing. I already know I've quite like I don't have a super Yorkshire accent.
You don't, to be fair.
But when I'm recording or when I'm presenting and stuff like that, or hosting, I know I clean it up quite a lot because there's a microphone or there's this or we're talking to this. And I know that I do that instinctively, and it's a real shame because I'm sure I do have... I'm not saying I'm as broad as you are, but I'm sure there is some Yorkshire underneath.
Every now and then you have a real Yorkshire twang. Like, you'll do something and it will just come out, and it's a bit like startling because like, where did that come from?
It's when I'm relaxed. When I'm relaxed I become more Yorkshire, which is a real... it's been a thing all my life that I've always been overpronouncing and stuff. But it's a real shame for you that you have that anxiety, because when you read your poems is when I hear you the most clearly, and like when I see you the most vividly, and it's such a shame that like you don't feel you can put your voice into that, because it is... Yeah. And like you saying, like when you listen to yourself on the... I mean, like we both acknowledge hearing ourselves on the pod, like I'm like, oh, Hannah sounds great, and there's me, the goblin in the corner.
Oh, absolutely.
But I love hearing us talk. Like, it's really nice. It's such a shame that that's something that like preys on you a bit.
Yeah, I think that's it. And it's something I've heard from quite a few people actually that's held them back from wanting to perform. But it definitely is. I think you want that authenticity in your performance, but when you get up there, the nerves can sometimes take over, and you do naturally find yourself resorting to a persona of some form. 100%. And so that, it does put me off. But again, I think another thing that I got from quite a few of the people we've spoken to throughout the entire podcast really is that practice makes perfect, and you've got to just keep going out there and doing it and perfecting your craft and adapting to the audience's needs and things. And I just need to actually get that practice in.
Sorry, my stomach.
Oh, is that what you felt?
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
I was like, did you say something funny?
No, I thought it was very audible. Apologies. So what was your takeaway from Brogue? And is it that like creating a persona and having that practice, like time with it?
Definitely, just kind of seeing that time on stage as a release to have fun. Yeah. I never have fun on stage. I don't know if you feel the same way.
I do after. I get like that proper wave after, but on reflection, I probably don't either.
It's just like the whole time I'm up there, I am internally panicking.
Okay.
You know, we just kind of feel like, what's that duck analogy where you're on the surface?
You look fine, and then you're like paddling.
Paddling underneath. And that's absolutely me whenever I'm in front of a microphone. But it's weird because as a teacher, I'm not like that.
I was going to say, yeah.
As a teacher, you've just got to really own that space. But I don't have that same attitude when it comes to performing for some reason. It is bizarre. So yeah,
you need some more of your teacher persona when you're.
You don't want any more of that. Trust me. Otherwise, everyone will just be terrified.
I love that.
I promise I'm not a scary teacher. But yeah, so I think I've taken that from Brogan, just kind of trying to put that element of fun into it, and not taking yourself too seriously.
Yeah.
I also really liked he gave that advice of I try to use humour in my writing a lot. So even though it doesn't really come through in my performance, especially when I'm kind of writing prose, I do like to be quite humorous. And
I see that. Yeah.
His observations of realism and kind of making sure everything's not so outrageous that it's not relatable.
Yeah.
I quite liked that, kind of picking out the funny parts of life.
Yeah.
I think that's quite good.
I can definitely sit on your writing.
Yeah, I do try.
Yeah, he's a good one. He's a really, really good one. And he's performing soon at some festival, can't remember, but he's doing great, so fair play to him. He's doing great.
I can't believe how quickly he did great as well. You know, his journey to get to where he is, that's pretty impressive, isn't it?
It is, but also like he is the nicest person. Like he is just always really affirming at events. It's always like nice to see. I think especially in poetry, because people get so vulnerable, like it's nice having talented people who are very quick to compliment others. I really respect him for that. So yeah, he's a good one.
Yeah, definitely. Really, really enjoyed having Brogan at the festival last year, but then catching up with him nearly a year later. Yeah, and seeing how well he's doing. It's really good. But then it kind of led quite nicely on to Rose, didn't it? Because Rose is another performance poet, a hugely experienced one, and then we also kind of got to pick her brains about being a published poet as well, which was good. So yeah, what was your highlight from Rose? episode?
I just Rose is like my first sort of exposure into spoken word, because she's such a like local legend around here, and sort of like between Huddersfield and Manchester and stuff. Like, she's such an established poet. When people talk about stuff, I say in the early days, I don't mean pre-pandemic, like when I talk about stuff I mean pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
Rose Kondo, the name came up loads. She's done a lot with a literary festival in Huddersfield, obviously done a lot of performing stuff. So it was just really nice to kind of like have that like time with her, that she wasn't having to perform, she wasn't having to host, she wasn't having to switch on. I'm sure she was switched on for the interview, but I'm sure like it's a different level.
I know what you mean, step into that persona of that performance persona anyway.
When talking to Rose, the thing that really struck me is how she transformed her poetry from a show to a book. I thought that was so interesting, and I think, not to get ahead of ourselves, but kind of linked into what we talked about with Rio the following week. But yeah, I just thought it was so interesting how she'd had this show, and I haven't actually been, which felt really bad. It's just one of those classic things of like, it's just always on when I'm busy, and it's just one of those like horrible situations. But I've heard really good things. Obviously, she's toured it quite a few places now. But I just thought it was so interesting to like find multiple uses for her work, and be open to how you can sort of transform your work between these different sort of ways of presenting it.
Yeah, definitely.
And she was just so like confident and engaging, and I've got the copy of it somewhere on here, and it's on my I'm gonna say summer reading list. It's definitely not summer anymore. It's in my
autumn
reading. I'm gonna read it soon, basically, is what I'm trying to say, before I make myself sad about how quick this year's gone. But yeah, she just really inspired me to sort of like think about how I'm using my work, and how work doesn't need to have one path, which is really, really cool.
Definitely. I think it's such a rare thing, isn't it, to see a poet take their work to the stage. And I think, she's just such a brilliant performance poet, isn't she?
She is.
And it is really good to see that actually poetry, I think, sometimes can feel quite limiting. If you define yourself as a poet, your opportunities feel quite limited, I find. So that's why I tried to, in my master's, kind of go down the novel writing route, because I just wanted that depth. I wanted to have a little bit more, a few more options open to me. 100%. Where in actual fact, Rose proves that you can be a poet, and you can then there is the adaptability of poetry, I think, is what I'm trying to get at here. You don't just have to be put in like this box of a poet. You can then adapt it and take it further,
and it can go places as well. It doesn't have to just be on your impetus. People are looking for that kind of stuff. It was fab. How about yourself?
I mean, with Rose has inspired us massively from the very beginning, hasn't she? Because when we started Inkspill about 2 years ago, it was very much what you said. She had set out the blueprint of creating a literature themed community. I think we knew we wanted to do the open mic, but we knew we wanted it to have that kind of creative workshop element, because we wanted people to be able to come and have a space where they had an hour to just write, and then share with other writers. So that's where we kind of maybe did it slightly differently. But I think definitely the support Rose gave us in setting up Inkspill, the support, I mean, she was just like our cheerleader on the side, wasn't she? She was just like, you're doing such amazing work. She was just such a positive influence, and I think that's what I took from that conversation with Rose. She's just consistently throughout her entire kind of poetry career tried to provide opportunities for the people, and I just think that's just wonderful, and that's something that we've tried to replicate, and we've definitely been inspired by Rose to do that. So I think I think that's what I took from that conversation. In actual fact, sharing your experience, sharing your maybe your downfalls as well, where you've made mistakes, and trying to give other people opportunities to break into the field as well, because it can feel quite daunting, can't it? But Rose is literally the least intimidating person ever. You just go to anything to do with Rose and you instantly feel better.
Yes.
And like at ease. And that's how I felt at Attic Stories, and that's how I felt during our conversation with her as well.
Very similar to Brogan, that like sort of relaxing energy of just being around someone that just wants you to do well. Which is really nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think poetry in recent years, maybe just because I've become more into the scene, does feel quite competitive. It does feel really like which is not a bad thing, because I think it does push people. But I think also the we talk about ourselves when we host Inkspill. We don't. There's a reason that our faces are on the socials, but we're not like, we use the logo. We do kind of keep it like very like, we facilitate. We don't like. It's not about us. It's about the people around us. That's why we want to do this festival episode, where we actually got to talk to the people we work with.
Yeah, I was just thinking we facilitate, we don't dominate.
That's what we want. That's always the intention. That's always what the energy we take into it. And I think Rose is another person that is, when you talk about her performing, I'm sure I mentioned this earlier in the season. If not, I want to really highlight it. My first Poetry Slam was the Huddersfield Lit Festival Poetry Slam back in 2021, I think. 2021? Yeah.
Was it pre-pandemic?
No, it was post-pandemic.
So it was
2021.
likely 2021.
Yeah. And a load of my friends came to support me, and they're not massive poetry people, and they are very loving and very kind. They were there for me, but at the same time they were like, "It's poetry," like, and I get it. So Rose gets up and she performs a poem to kind of open the night, and she does this poem, and I can still remember it. There's 2 poems of Rose's that I've seen her perform that really resonate with me, and this one was all about this like reputation of like, look up seasonal depression, look up anxiety, look up cures for anxiety, look up how to sleep when you can't sleep, look up this, look up that, and it goes, and it's so like, it gave me goosebumps. It was so good. And at the end, like, the final line is just look up. And it just like, it was in small seats, so it's like in a room that doesn't like resonate, that doesn't have an echo, but it felt like it really rung out into the room. And it felt like that moment where like everyone's holding their breath, because it just keeps going. It keeps like this like genuine spiral of words,
and it really resonates with everyone. And
like my friend, who was just not into poetry and made that very clear to me, turned to me and was like, I get it now.
Oh, wow.
I get this now.
That's
and
powerful.
I was just like, oh, like, and it was great, because there's no moment of me going, oh, you couldn't get it from my poem, or like, why does it take, it was like, I know what he meant because he saw it there, and I was like, oh, and that's why, like, I'm so glad we had that time to talk to Rose, and like we were saying, she's used as kind on the stage as off the stage, which is nice.
Yeah, she definitely is.
So so another good episode. I feel like we're swimming in them, and it's great.
I know, yeah. But then the fact last week's chat was just brilliant with Rio, wasn't it? I came away just feeling really positive after Rio's conversation. Like, it was so bizarre. Like you said, poetry has become a very saturated market, and I think just the lit scene in general sometimes feels very what do I want to say? It's as though walls are put up and you've got to break down these walls, and
that's part of the journey.
Yeah, and in actual fact, it's exhausting. Sometimes you just want to enjoy the process of writing, enjoy getting these little wins, and sometimes these wins just feel like they never come, and it's really hard.
I just want to highlight that I aged out of the like 18 to 25-year-old group.
Oh, I did as well, yeah.
And there's no funding.
Yeah.
You hit 25, and someone highlighted on Twitter, I don't know if it was a recent post, I can't remember, but it talked about basically like, for like women, disabled people, queer people, trans writers, like everyone, like that, like everyone who's not like a cis white man, and that's not saying that they have a hard time, but like there's a real ceiling on like, it takes us a lot longer to get started and stuff, and you actually miss this, and there's like there's definitely a huge void for like older writers as well.
Yeah.
But like I think I didn't realise how much I was missing out on until I aged out of that 25 group, and I was just like, I'm ready now, like my work is ready, and there's just not as many opportunities that I can like put myself in for.
I know exactly what you mean. You need that time to mature and perfect your craft, don't you? And then that, if you haven't achieved that by 25, it does definitely feel as though quite a lot of the opportunities that are there to help and support writers get off the mark are gone. So yeah, that's why it was really reassuring to hear that there are still people like Rio in the world who purposefully use their platform to help people, to give people opportunities. I was just completely blown away by her commitment to her role.
I know, it's like a proper what, you know, like vicars have, like it's like a conviction, it's like a, what is it, a calling almost.
Calling in life.
Yeah, so there's a word for it. It's going to come to me in like 2 minutes. I'm going to shout at you. Not shout, but it's like her.
I know
it's the meaning of her life, like it really, and like she's a full faceted, wonderful person outside of it, but it is really like a purpose for her, and it's amazing. And
I think that was it. It was just really reassuring to know that there are still people in the world who care about giving people opportunities, who acknowledge that there are fantastic writers in the world, and you don't need to have 3,000 followers on Instagram or this many books published. I think that's what it sometimes just feels as though it's hard to tap into this industry.
100%.
Because people seem to very much, the answer's no before they've even read it, or they'll get back to you in 6 to 8 weeks, and then it's just a rejection email, but you'll get no feedback. And in actual fact, Rio's trying to actually, well, she was saying she goes to people's shows, even if they've just messaged her and said, could you
but come? Make sure you give her warning.
Yes,
she needs that time.
And just things like that. Just you really did try to help people and get into this industry, and that was just so refreshing. I came away from that conversation being like, oh, thank God that there are people like you who still exist.
100%. And like the fact, like, it is a genuine loss to the northern scene that she's going to Camden, and I'm sure I have no doubt she's going to do amazing things, and I'm so excited to hear from her and see her do that. And I just really hope, and I do believe that she's left like that sort of legacy space that she will have inspired people to step up and take that mantle on.
Yeah.
But she's just so, she gave me real Adrian energy of that like depth of like passion, and also like wordsmithsmith with the way she was describing stuff. It felt really beautiful to like just listen to her talk, which is really nice.
Yeah. It was a really uplifting conversation. What was your highlight from, because Rio was your guest, you knew Rio before?
Yeah, I worked with Rio. I worked with Rio on a project ages ago, and then I have kept up with being friends with her ever since, and it's been a real joy to have her around. So yeah, it was when this season, when we were planning out the guests, that she was one of the, I mean, no, to be fair, like the guests we've had, I feel like we've picked them very instinctively. Like the people we've picked, we've just been like, this will be a good person, and when we picked them with the other person not knowing them, we've trusted it because it's been so like this, we need this person, we need to talk to this person. That's been so nice. And yeah, it wasn't just Rio, but Rio was an instinctive pick. So yeah, my takeaway, I mean, it was a creative task, which we will talk about in a sec, I'm sure, but it was a horizontal networking. It was being confident and comfortable and curate, not curating, but engaging with people around you to have that community on your level, and being enjoying that. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Like, it worked really, really well to actually talk about that, and like you don't have to constantly reach out to agents and publishers. Like you do need, like we need each other. Like Inkspill wouldn't run without each other, and like I'm okay with the baby now. It's fine. I understand you're gonna be gone for a few weeks, a few months.
I was a few weeks. Like,
a few weeks.
Okay.
I'm getting a bit ahead of myself there. But like, Inkspill doesn't work without either one of us. Like we need that partnership, and it's been really lovely that like we always say we bring out the best in each other, because I think we have really opposing talents, which is really nice, which are bridged by loving poetry and writing together. So yeah, actually talking about the fact that we need the people on our level, we need them to champion us, we need to, and that's why we do the festival. It's why we've done the podcast, is we obviously reach out to fantastic people as well, but we've had people on our level who are striving, who are wanting more, and that's been really exciting.
I think I completely agree with that. It definitely harks back to the idea of it becoming far more competitive, doesn't it? Because I think we see, I mean, networking just seems to be such a buzzword, doesn't it? And that always feels very competitive in a networking environment. It's like, who's the most important person you can talk to? And it's not because you want to get to know them, it's because you want to benefit from them. And I hate that.
It's so transactional.
Yeah, that's exactly how it feels, doesn't it? Whereas in actual fact, rather than recognising that I just want to get above, I want to get to the next level. Just having a community of people around you who are at the same level of you,
who champion you and want you to do well
and
for
make you feel good about yourself.
And you're writing.
Be far more beneficial than maybe getting in with someone and having their business card or something. Yes, it might benefit you in the future, but I'm certain, and it's reassuring to hear that Rio agrees that actually having a community of people on the same level of you is going to be far more beneficial. But good guess, good season again.
Good guess, good season. What was your takeaway? Sorry, you didn't say your takeaway from Rio.
Just the opportunities actually.
Oh, the opportunities. Sorry, yes, you did. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I really did feel as though that conversation just made me feel better and about the state of the industry. And
also, like, it was nice to have a reflection of someone like what we're, chiseling away at in poetry on our local level, with Rio, doing that in the plays and theatres.
We haven't spoken to anyone from the drama world, have we?
No.
So that was really good, because you've got a huge interest in theatre.
Oh, yeah, I love theatre. I mean, being at Edinburgh Fringe is like, I call it pilgrimage. Yeah. Like, it is 100% like this year. Like, that's why I wanted to talk to her about it, because I always find her picks are so interesting, and I really like that. And I think, I love theatre. It's great. And I think it's funny, I love theatre, and I don't know why I don't write it more. Which is really interesting.
It's what you feel comfortable with, though, isn't it? Maybe in time you will. But I think it is an area we've neglected, an area of literature we've neglected.
I think it shows a weakness for us that we don't have that network, that we haven't had that time in that community. Hopefully next season there might be another theatre person, just to tickle people's fancy. But yeah, and I think maybe it's, again, this is the podcast, like, it is me and Hannah talking a lot, but it is also us working on ourselves, improving and hearing what the community wants, and if people want more playwrights. I mean, to be fair, we don't have any episodes left.
Yeah, we've only got 3 more guests scheduled for the rest of the year.
Which is mad.
As we're going to winter. So yeah, it's a lot, isn't it?
Come round. So we sort of touched on it. Should we talk about creative tasks from last week?
Oh yeah, well, definitely.
And
We
then-
probably should have started with that, but hey ho.
It's a bit of a wonky... I feel like it's really funny. I think because I do feel quite sad. Like I sort of touched on at the start, it's like I didn't get to do this as much as I wanted to. Like I haven't really performed. I've got some stuff ready to submit, and there is some stuff I'm hoping to submit, but at the same time I'm just like, we'll see. And you've had a lot on recently, so I'm sure that you might have hit that wall a bit as well.
Yeah, I have not written in, I would say, months. I mean, I was really chuffed that you started the Write Club that I'm in,
Yes.
which is brilliant because I can see that you're submitting each week and getting feedback each week, and obviously I've been in that club, I'd say, for the past like 6 to 8 months, and that's really benefited me. I have not had a second to even open my laptop. Any moment I've had has been getting ready for the baby, sort of knocking down a wall in my house.
Just standard stuff.
One of the many things that we've like, we got a working toilet last week, and that was great. And it's just like the little wins. Like every little minute I've had has been. There's no way it could go to writing, so that's where it's gone.
And mine is only, I have the second draft of my book that I'm just like and the thing is I've had to really take a break from it because I felt because it's 110,000 words. It's great. I'm happy. It's like it's a full thing. But I really hit a wall on like where it's going, and like so for me, I submit 2,500 words every week, and I can just go back, and then I'm slowly rewriting it from behind where Write Club is, which is really, really helpful. But it's only because I have it already done.
But I think it's just worth noting that is a win in itself. Like yes, you may not be at the point that you anticipated at the beginning of the year, but like you're still like dipping your toe in. You're still like working on yourself, and I think that's something to be really positive about. It's so easy, isn't it, sometimes to just look out and be like, and notice everything that's gone wrong, or notice everything that you're not quite happy with, or you're not where you fully want to be. But in actual fact, if you look at the little wins, like we've produced another zine this year, we've got so many brilliant submissions, and like there are just so many little wins as well that we overlook,
which we don't let add up either. We're like, that got done, but like this huge thing was a hardship and stuff. 100%.
And we've got to the end of season 3, and there have been so many times where we've been literally recording after we've both done like full days at work. We've been recording late into the night.
We've recorded before an ink spill, which is already quite demanding on our time.
Exactly. So we need to remember the little wins as well.
I know, the fact we've done a whole 3rd season is mad. So this is our 14th episode? 15th?
It will be, yeah. So we can't do those maths right now, but it's an episode.
It's an episode.
But so we've gone massively off piece there, but we just
creative tasks.
I felt like I just needed to say that to you because I feel like you don't do yourself down. It's been
I'm really bad for that. I'm really bad at being like, but I thought I would do this amazing thing, and you and Alex there going, it will come, and also that was never going to happen in this time, even if you'd had the perfect scenario. And I was right.
Well,
we survive. Creative tasks.
We're very ambitious people.
We are, and it's it's paying off. Like the fact that by the end of this year we'll have done a full year of this podcast, and like that is it. We're not gonna do any more. Like this year, this podcast has been enough. We've let them off. It's been.
Watch
cool.
next year be dead, and I'll be like, I'm so bored. Should we do a podcast again?
Should we do a bonus episode? Should we just spice it up?
That's what we thought this year was going to be. We're like, we've just got a really dead, quiet year.
Yeah, like, and last year went so well for us. It's totally fine that we want to take on. It felt so doable back in December, like even November, like end of last year. We were solid. We were like, this is such an easy thing to do.
It's madness, isn't it? Sorry, we've gone off piece again. Creative tasks. So what did we set at the end of Rio's episode last week?
Horizontal networking.
That was yours.
Yeah, that was me thinking. Should we unpack that and then talk about yours? Or?
Yeah, let's do that, because I'm going to try. Oh no, I do know what I did. I did it as well last week. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, carry on.
Horizontal networking hasn't happened for me.
Okay, fair play.
Like I have to be honest. Like this last week, I did the program launch for my job. I work for Bradford 2005, and we launched our program for a big chunk of our program for next year, and that was just a lot of copywriting and updating websites and liaising with partners, which is obviously amazing. Like, I've been chatting to some really, really cool people, and the launch went amazing. Had such a great time with that. But that was like, I was working like 8 till 5:30 every day.
It's intense.
And then the launch on Thursday, and then having meetings on Friday. So yeah, no, it hasn't happened. It has happened in the past, and it's something I'm gonna weave into how I approach events in the future.
I respectfully disagree, because you have you're overlooking Wright Club again.
Oh God,
You joined Wright Club, and at the end of the day, that is a group of, there's about 8 writers, and they're all on your level, and they're all just wanting to help each other out.
Yes,
and
it's such a nice vibe.
Yeah, that is the epitome of horizontal networking. It's a community of people who aren't trying to get one up on you, who aren't trying to beat you to an opportunity.
No.
They just want the best for you.
That is such a good point, and that also just kind of like really crystallizes my perspective on stuff. And it's not, I want to stress, I love Write Club. Like, it's so nice being with writers, and I love editing people's work and like stressing stuff, but I was just like, yeah, it's great.
I think it's because we see networking as a thing you've got to go to,
Actively.
like an event or something. You've got to go there with networking
100%.
in mind. But in actual fact, I think quite often we network and build our communities without even realising we're doing it.
Yep.
Like, Inkspill in itself is horizontal networking.
Yeah, 100%, and we love it. Like, the people we've met there, like, their successes are something that we just are champion so much and enjoy. Yeah,
I think that's it. It's always, I mean, Inkspill, to me, the reason why it's kind of been as successful as it is because everyone is very we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
Everyone's just trying to do their best.
100%.
And everyone is on the same kind of level, and it's always, I don't know, this feels a bit like, I'm not meaning this in a bitch way, it's always very clear when we get somebody who is there and trying to outdo others.
Yes.
Because they are just instantly like the black sheep in the room. That's just about,
not from us.
no,
not,
it just
we're not
naturally feels that way though, doesn't it, when you've got someone who's trying to steal, I can't explain what I mean by this, who's almost trying to steal the limelight a bit, or using it as their opportunity to
get something
out of it in terms of a benefit, to exploit the event in some way.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Rather than actually just embrace getting to know the other writers
and be in the community.
Sometimes you just get people who come in and just want to kind of enforce themselves. I'm not phrasing this well, but in a way that basically is them trying to put themselves above others.
Yeah, like the whole point of Inkspill is that we're a community. We have published authors, we have published poets, we have people who work in the industry, in like various literary industries, but we all come in on the same level playing field of just wanting to write together and share work together.
No,
and that's
one
really
person's
nice.
like better than the other or should be given any airtime.
And that goes to us as well. Like, we haven't performed at the last.
Oh, I can't remember the last time I performed at Inkspill.
I don't think we performed this year, possibly. No, I think we may have done like the start of the year, but because the open mics are so full, we aren't there to read our work. We are there to facilitate others having the time and space to read their work. And if it means that we don't read and another person reads, or they get slightly longer slots, we'd much prefer that.
That's exactly it. But yeah, I just think that's very telling of Inkspill. Like, that is a classic horizontal networking event, isn't it? If anyone is there trying to get above others or to kind of it just doesn't go down well.
No.
Which I quite like.
But everyone is welcome at Inkspill. It's just the point is, you know, and if that's a horizontal networking people want to do, is they've heard this and they want to come join us, please do. We're not unwelcoming. It's just there's a natural kind of like communist-y energy of just like everyone, everyone being for everyone and stuff.
That's exactly it. I don't mean it in a nasty way. I just kind of mean that anyone who does come in and tries to kind of make anyone else feel inferior, that's just never welcome there, is it? So that if that's the kind of networking you're into, maybe don't come to Inkspill, because everyone will just be like, cool. Anyway, like, do you know what I mean? Like,
100%.
In the words of Shania Twain, that don't impress me much.
No,
but,
exactly.
Yeah, so that was, yours was horizontal networking. Mine was, I really enjoyed doing mine this week. It was taking either a short story or a poem or something that you've written and trying to make it into a play.
Yep.
Because, as we said, it is an area that I do feel we have kind of neglected. Ever so slightly, and that was just great fun. I think because I write a lot about characters, they naturally, as I'm writing my novel, play out in my head anyway. I can 100%. See them acting it out in my head.
As someone who's read it and has said it previously, and will say it again, you are such a visual writer. Like I said to you when I read it in Write Club, I was like, this feels like a play.
I do try to be, and so it was really nice to actually make those characters into characters that with stage direction and really thinking about, well, how would they move on this stage? How would they react? And also remembering the fact that when you turn it into a play, it has got to entertain an audience as well. So then trying to use a little bit of Brogan's humour in there as well, and it was fun. I enjoyed that. So if you haven't got a chance to do it yet, I really would, because it was really good.
Yeah, it's on my to-do list. It probably is something I'm going to do after this episode, to be honest. There's a couple of poems that I was sort of looking through that I was like, these feel like nice monologues. These feel like I want to do something with them, and there's sort of a natural kind of window for that in them. But they're very short. They're quite old poems of mine. They're from uni. Basically, I wrote a collection on when my granddad was dying of dementia and cancer, and I have never gone back to it. It's called Souvenirs, and I love it. It's like, to be fair, I love all my collections from uni, and I really want to go back and rewrite them. But I think, because there's so many poems and they're quite short from different perspectives, I think there's a real thing of like, maybe like wife, daughter, granddaughter,
that's
perspectives.
like a beautiful play. Do you know, when you just you kind of described that, then I just thought that would do amazing at Edinburgh Fringe.
Well, yeah, I'd love to take. One day I will take a show to Edinburgh Fringe. One day when
you've written it.
When I've written it. Wow.
You've done it.
That basically sums me up. One day when I stop dreaming about it and actually act on it.
That's me as well, to be fair.
But I'm really glad to I think it was a very you task. When it sort of came up, it feel like it kind of like sparkled on you.
Yeah. I love doing stuff like that though, because I find it very inspiring, you know, when you just completely reformat something.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. Seeing it from a different lens.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's inspiring.
No, it's really, really good. But do we need a creative task, or should we just sort of encourage people to, in the sort of gap between the season and the next, do more of everything we've suggested?
Well, yeah, I think we're at that point now where we are rounding up. This final season is a reflective season, isn't it?
Yep.
So we've generated our ideas, we've written our first drafts, we've thought about editing and getting out there into the world, publishing, performing, and now this final season is just very much going to be about reflecting on that journey.
Yep.
Which areas did you like the most? Which areas do you think you need to revisit? So for us it might be getting published and performing. But yeah, I think that I'm looking forward to next season to kind of recap, and I think it will be.
I think it's been lovely. I think I'm like, when we built the structure of this podcast, I'm so glad that we put this time in to reflect, both as the 5th episode and also this whole season of like reflecting on how we're going to grow and improve next time, and like having the time to actually make sure that we evaluate what we've done. Yeah.
I think it's definitely taught us to be more realistic about what we can physically do as well, like what we've got the capacity for. The idea of me writing a novel this year is laughable.
Oh my god, we should. There's definitely a thing there of like, should we listen to the first episode and react to it? You know, like they do on YouTube.
Jesus, just like,
whoa, they are totally insane. I think that's totally doable.
Oh, I think it'd be so sweet though, because we're like, those young naive people.
Yeah, they were only like 8 months ago.
I want to be 26-year-old Hannah again, just in a little bubble.
26-year-old Abbi was as daft as 27-year-old Abbi. Yeah. So,
shall we call it a day then for season 3?
Yeah, what a season.
Yeah, and we will see you back here for season 4.
With the festival bonus episode.
Oh yes, in between.
Soon.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah. But thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much, and we'll see you for the final season of the podcast. Emotional.
It is really. I mean, I probably will cry, but Hannah won't. So it's fine.
I don't cry, unfortunately.
It's not unfortunate. I wish I cried less. Anyway, we'll see you guys later.
See you later. Bye.